The Captain Mai Trin boss fractal is the hardest fractal for this challenge. Even this deep into tier 4 I still stand by that statement. Although level 95 didn't give me as much trouble as level 72. Mainly because I learned all my lessons in level 72. I've tried a few different ideas to tackle this fractal, but in the end I went back to my setup from level 72, because why mess with a winning concept? The only difference is that I had more budget, so a better gear setup. But first off, in level 72 I was under the impression that only a thief could beat this fractal with my current rule set, because a thief can steal 2 alcoholic drinks, and those together give them up to 8 seconds of invulnerability, which is plenty to overcome the 7 seconds of agony you gain when entering the arena, something engineer or ranger can't do. However, through attempting this fractal, I learned that the very first time you enter the arena, Mai Trin and Horrik will do a bit of roleplay, and if you manage to die and respawn while they're doing the first intro story, you will respawn inside the arena and you will gain 4 seconds of invulnerability. Or 3. Anyways, enough that a engineer with Elixir S can survive it. So both Thief and Engineer can attempt this fractal. But I'll explain later that Thief is the better choice for this. Also, when you fail with Engineer, you have to do the entire pre-event again. And as you can see, that's quite long. So after our whole spiel with the champion and the intro from Mai Trin and Horrik, the fight can begin. And the fight is pretty easy. Mai Trin and Horrik are not really a threat. As long as you don't stand in the circles from Horrik and walk away from Mai Trin, there's nothing to worry about. Especially not because we're in full clerics. Why full clerics when it's so easy? Well, that's because the real difficulty of this fractal lies within the in-between phases, the crew phases or the Cannon Barrage phases, whatever you call it. Anyways, after Mai Trin has lost 25% of her health, she will retreat to a high vantage point in the arena and the Cannon Barrage will start. After this point, the Cannon Barrage will always be present. And if it hits you, you will be dazed, get a lot of damage, but more importantly, you also gain agony. So getting hit by those is game over. Mai Trin herself will also shoot a lightning field, a small lightning field, but if it hits you, you will also gain agony. As it is a projectile, standing far away from the entrance of the arena gives you a lot more time to evade it than if you were to stand right beneath her, which is usually a death sentence, as it will kill you before you even can notice the red circle. Also in this phase is an onslaught of Aether Blades. It started with just 2, and then 3 in the next phase and 3 in the one after that for tier 1, and then each tier added a new one to the pool. Luckily, the second phase is the same in tier 3 as in tier 4, just 5 total. But still, in both phases, the Aether Blades are rough, real rough. You have the Grenadiers. They throw grenades, some of them give vulnerability and some of them give chill. Chill is quite dangerous as it will slow you down, meaning that the Cannon Barrage and Mai Trin and Horrik have an easier time hitting you, while also increasing the cooldown of your skills. Not to mention the high damage they deal. Even on Clerics, they can easily halve your health in no time, with a few lucky crits. Speaking of crits, there's the Thug. The Thug has 3 attacks. The first one it does right at the start of the encounter. It will plant a War Banner, which will give all the Aether Blades Might, Fury and Swiftness. Fury being the most important one, meaning they, I don't know why, but NPCs like to crit when they have Fury. It will also perform an Anchor Throw quite often. If it hits you, you'll be immobilized for 5 seconds, which is even more punishing than Chill, and usually a death sentence if you can't get rid of it, or you have to use one of your alcoholic beverages. And lastly, it has a smash attack, which if you run around is not really an issue, but if you stand still, because for example, you received an anchor to your face, it will hit for quite a lot. There is the Thumper. The Thumper is largely irrelevant if you're running around. It has 2 attacks. One, it will throw a shield, it bounces between your friends and will daze you for a second. And it will do a mace auto attack, which does okay damage, but not really relevant. However, it can give itself some sort of invulnerability shield. And when it finishes the third attack of the mace auto attack, it will share that effect to all Aether Blades around it and refresh it. So if you're standing still and the Thumper will just auto attack away, it will spell doom for your attempt. So while running around, the Thumper is harmless. But while standing still, you have to evade the third auto attack when it's invulnerable, or bad things happen. The Taskmaster only appears in the first phase, but it's also the most dangerous one. It has a lightning whip, which does okay damage, and most importantly, attacks through blindness because it hits twice in quick succession. But it also has a lightning shot, and I don't know the other, but I'll call it a thunder shot. The lightning shot has a quick charge and does decent damage, and the thunder shot has a slow charge and does massive damage. And visually, the difference between the two is indistinguishable. So trying to dodge either of the attacks will just result in you losing a lot of your health. This one is to be killed first if you're running around. And the last one is the Swashbuckler, also an annoyance. You've already seen it at the pre-event, but it can throw a Weakening Dagger, it can throw 5 Dazing Daggers, which is deadly up close. It can do a kick and punch combo, and it can do the Ranger Whirling's defense, where it spins around in place, reflecting all projectiles, giving around 12 bleeds and removing 3 boons on hit. So quite an annoying bugger. My take on tackling this problem with the annoying Aether Blades is to lure Horrik at the start of the Mai Trin phase to the edge of the arena, near where the airship can be boarded, and put him in his corner. There, when the phase starts with the Aether Blades, he only has one attack he can do, a smash. He will smash his cannon down and knock you back, which has quite a long wind up, so it's easy to see and to dodge. Also in this spot, you're safe from all the cannon fire, and Mai Trin can't spot you, so you're safe from her attack as well. And if she saw you running to that corner, you can also hide in it, so the agony is not an issue. And because you're line of sighting all the enemies will just bunch up around you, and you can safely blind away and finish them off. However, you need an attack that can hit multiple enemies, because even through the blindness, the Grenadier and the extra attacks that go through blindness will knock you down in seconds if you don't have a multi-hitting attack, which can't be dagger or sword, because that will push away the enemies outside of the range of your blind field. My solution is Gunk, specifically Ettin Gunk, because all the other Gunks can't be used in Fractals. By blinding on the spot and dodging the Thumper and the Slam from Horrik, I blind the enemies around me and throw Gunk at my feet. Importantly, at my feet, otherwise the Swashbuckler might reflect the Gunk back to me, which is not ideal. It happens sometimes, but I have some liquid cards on me, specifically for those situations. That's the hardest part. Mai Trin and Horrik are just filler for 10 to 15 minutes for each phase. This is the reason I have Clerics on, to out-heal all the damage that is dealt through blindness. Because if I could get away with Berserker, the time for this Fractal would be halved. It's also nice to not immediately die when Horrik hits you with an explosion. Now, the hard part. Why is this Fractal so difficult? Well, on the third Cannon Barrage, one of Mai Trin's elite crewmates arrives. Sharpshooter Terran. Sharpshooter Terran hits hard. His shots are quite unpredictable, and most importantly, he shoots agony bullets. I've tried this method for tier 3. However, the other elite crew member, Stormspit, will place down a symbol that cures conditions on our enemies, even when Stormspit is blinded himself. So blind is not an option to go for Sharpshooter Terran, and just evading that whole phase is just a no-go. So how do we deal with an enemy we can't defeat? Well, we don't engage it at all. After the second barrage is over, I remove Mai Trin's shield and prepare myself for the jump. Near where we fight the crewmates, there is a stalagmite, just outside of the arena. There's actually two on which you can stand on, but this one is the best one, in my opinion. Just look at it. The most difficult part is, after 30 to 45 minutes of Fractal, is to jump on this stalagmite. After you manage to jump on this stalagmite, you only have to move your butt a bit over the edge so that you're standing on air, and then the Fractal is basically over. It's just the easy road from here. Horrik's 2 attacks won't hit you since you're standing in the air. His lightning shot will have an arc and will just fall right through you. And his cannon attacks, only the cannonball will hit you, and the explosion is ways away in the distance. Even better, if you're taking too much damage, you can even jump over the cannonballs, nullifying Horrik entirely. Mai Trin 2 is mostly harmless now. She only has her spin attack and her "you're too far away so I'll teleport towards you" attack. Both of them do, in this setup, around a quarter of my health, not even, and it's easily out-healed. So for the third Mai Trin phase and the second cannon phase, it's just easy going and shooting down Mai Trin and then Horrik. Sometimes a grenadier will spawn close by, but we've already dealt with 2 of them, so an extra one is not an issue. Now the Fractal is over. Sometimes. You see, on this pillar, you can't really go back, because if you fall down, you will take 100% of your health as damage, and you will be teleported back to the arena, which is good, but mostly you're in downstained. But since you're going back to the arena, you will also gain another hit of agony. So failing the jump or walking off the stalagmite is basically game over again. So how can we hit Mai Trin from here? After every Cannon Barrage, Mai Trin will teleport back to the arena, and there's 6 spots she can spawn in. Only one is close enough to hit with a Thief Shortbow, and there's 2 that are close enough to hit with a Engineer Mortar Kit. So basically, for a thief, every time I make the jump and bring down Mai Trin and Horrik, I roll a dice. And what are the chances that if you roll a dice, you roll a specific number? And after how many rolls do you get that number? Well, if you're really unlucky, infinity. And I was really unlucky. It took until my 10th try until I was successful. Not really. I wasn't lucky in any of my runs. Mai Trin didn't spawn close enough. Luckily, I have a backup plan. You see, I jumped down with 2 Elixir of Heroes, and I've been playing suboptimally with the Shadow Art straight line, just so I could do a backup strategy. Losing the 1 in 6 hurts. But the reason I'm not going for a Engineer strategy, which can hit 2 Mai Trin spots, so having double the chance of a successful spawn, using the Shadow Art trait to give myself barrier, and then surviving the agony by jumping down with an Elixir of Heroes, gets me back into the arena safe and sound. At first I thought just 2 Elixir of Heroes was enough to lure Mai Trin back to the edge. However, not really. The timing is really tight, and even if you do get it, Mai Trin isn't that fast in realizing that you've appeared in the arena. It takes around 5 seconds for her, and that's usually not enough. So the backup strategy also has another chance. After going through both Elixir of Heroes, I steal another badge, hopefully. The chances are around 50%, so a coin flip. So after losing your 6-sided die roll, you throw a coin flip, hopefully, to steal another batch of liquid courage. After that's done, you lure her to the edge, and then you teleport back, and then you stealth up so that the crew loses interest, and then it's back to just shooting at Mai Trin. And even with Adrenaline Rush, that's a no-brainer. And the Fractal's done. It took me around 10 tries after jumping on the pillar. I may have neglected life a bit, since every attempt for a jump takes around 40 minutes, and after that there's another 20 minutes. But hey, it took me a couple weeks, but finally I was lucky enough. Hope to see you in the next one.